Alright. Today, live review of the most anticipated bottle ever. Lagavulin 16-year-old Isla single malt Scotch whiskey. This is, of course, a Diageo product. 43% alcohol. 86 proof. It is chill filtered and color added. Now, a lot of people think there's ex-sherry in this. But we actually don't know. We actually don't know if there's any ex-sherry in this. I get the feeling it might be all ex-bourbon. And if there's any sherry in it, it's like just a little tiny amount. But mostly matured in ex-bourbon and perhaps ex-sherry maybe. We don't actually know. But I get the feeling the blend is like mostly bourbon. Of course, this is a very hot bottle. This is a favorite among many in their collection. So I'll put it to the test. I'll put it to the test today. Put it to the numbers, you know. Stick the thumb screws to it, I suppose. The classic Lagavulin offering. It's been a little while. It's been a little while since we touched this. So much so that my bottle notes on it look ancient. I don't know when those got written, but they seem old. They're not in the same format as I'm used to. Hold on. Alright, so here we are for coloration here, but I believe this is colored. It's quite deep in color, I suppose, but I don't believe this is natural color. And again, it's only 43% alcohol, so it's not going to be super duper thick, I imagine. But it is 16 years of age. A classic malt, if you will. I can already smell that peat smoke aroma. Volatile, fill the room. I'm gonna give it some time there. And again, we're rating this live on Twitch TV out of 100. 25 for aroma, 25 for palate, 25 for finish, 10 for texture, and 15 for my personal experience. I mean, you can kind of see right off the rip why people think there's some sherry in here, because I get this berry note. This like kind of not even necessarily dry, almost like a mixed fruit berry kind of aroma. But that's partnered with like that smoky character. And it's coming across kind of like dry and ashy kind of smoke. And of course, that's something like for me that is pretty stereotypical of the peat on Lagavulin. Is it's kind of like ashier. It's kind of like got an ashy characteristic, especially on the like back palate, early finish kind of area. I tend to get like an ashy component. And there's just like a sprinkle of that, like smoked Gouda, smoked cheese kind of character. It's kind of accompanied by this, like, again, slightly mixed berry, slightly fruitiness. I'm getting like a slight rubberiness today too. But for smoky whiskey, like, the nose is pretty on the fruity side. It's a slightly vegetal component. The intensity of aroma is not as strong as I would hope, but we're not really like hunting. But some of the like more nuanced notes are very quiet. It's not like we're getting there and it's loud intensity on all the whole spectrum. It's kind of like sort of loud on like the peatier and fruitier components, and then more subtle on some of the more like complex elements, more nuanced elements. Maybe a bit of like vanilla and sweet spices. Pretty good variety though. So we'll put this on the palate. Slancheva. Oh yeah, there's that ashiness. I think the thing that sticks out to me about Lagavulin 16, and especially on this particular glass today, is not necessarily like the width of the flavor. It's the clear definition in which the flavors present. So there's an idea that, like, you know, complexity and like intensity are like very important when it comes to like, you know, what we experience when it comes to the spirit. But as I've like kind of like tasted more and more things, there's also like some other characteristics that like I would describe as how clearly defined flavors are, or how like muddled they are, if that makes any sense. There's some whiskeys that I feel like you drink them, and I guess this might go with the word tight, like the flavors are tightly woven together. But it's almost not even that. It's like you can tell there's multiple flavors that you're trying to pick at, but they're like muddled together, sort of in a mess, and they're hard to get clearly. It's like, oh, I think there's some orchard fruit and maybe some dried fruit and maybe some honey in there, but they're all kind of like mixed together, and not in like a way where it's clearly like honeyed fruits. It's kind of like, oh, there's honey and fruits and dried fruits, but those flavors are kind of muddled together and step on each other's toes a little bit. And one of the things that's I appreciate about this particular dram in this moment is that a lot of the like peat and smoky flavors and components are so well clearly crystal clear defined and presented in a way that's like, oh, this is so clearly, you know, like ashy character. This is so clearly a smoky character. This is so clearly like this like like earthy character, for example. Like you can so clearly pinpoint each flavor as it kind of like develops on your palate, rather than like getting like a cacophony of flavors and trying to like clearly define them in the mess of flavors that exist. Instead, the flavors are so clearly well presented and defined and not muddled. Oh yeah, there's that. Hey, that's mine. Hey, that's mine, Mosley. Hey, there's that smoked Gouda. Oh, it's so back. Hey, that's mine. Hey, hey. You have your own water. We just poured it like literally a few minutes ago. You don't need mine. Mose butt. That one's mine. Or I'm gonna have to go get my own. Alright, oh fine. You can have that one. Go ahead. You can have that one. You want that one? Here, you can have that one. I'll get my own. Fucking classic Mosley. Yep, you want that one? Go ahead. I'll get my own water. That's your water now. No, that's mine. You have your own that you took from me. Yeah, you can have that one. Oh, yeah. So, even though, like, right now, I don't feel like I'm being presented with, like, a huge complexity of notes on this whiskey. No, no, no. That one's mine. This one's yours now. That one's yours. I gave you mine and then got my own. You don't get both. But yeah, what I was saying was, even though I don't feel like there's a whole like giant breadth of complexity being presented with this whiskey, the notes that are here, while pretty like strong and presentable for this proof, I can't see what you're doing over there, Mosley. You're getting into my shit. Oh my god, Mosley. They're clearly well-defined flavors. Beer cat, nice cat. Yeah, he's something. So like, it's almost like, I feel like almost like to reach those upper echelons of like finely crafted whiskeys, not only do you have to have like a certain intensity of flavor and a certain like complexity of flavor, like it's almost kind of occurring to me that you also need to craft a spirit that has like well-defined flavors that are like not muddled and mixed up with each other. Excuse me, you're really being a butt. There. Holy friggin' cannoli. And I think that's what this Lagavulin really brings to the table. It's not like the complexity of flavor, and the intensity of flavor is still pretty good for 43% alcohol. But it's how well defined the flavors are that really hits. Texture, suffering a little bit. It's a little bit on the watery end for me. Mouthfeel is like, suffering a little bit. Again, it is pretty diluted. This one's mine. Nice finish, though. Thick, deep charcoal, burnt rubber, creosote kind of finish. Oh, that's kind of nice. Finish, we'll have to give a good old long, too. Frickin' Mosley. I'm trying to get into maybe if there's any kind of sweet notes at the bottom of this, but the best I'm going to get is like a slightly sweet vanilla thing. A slight baking spice character. Along with those like typical like smoky, ashy components, smoked Gouda, a little bit of like berry fruit. And like a little bit of something that I would describe as rubber. Also like kind of like a slightly sweet vanilla. But not like deep enough to get to like honey or syrup. I'm going to focus on the palate here. There's like a smoke, ash, charcoal, kind of burnt log, slight amount of underlying sweetness there. Into the back of the palate, a little bit more earthy, a little bit more rubbery. That ash definitely sticks as soon as you swallow though. Ashiness, some spice in there. It's not terribly like green though. It's not terribly grassy. Like you might get off of like perhaps like Ardbeg, or it's not as medicinal as you would get off of like a Lafroig. It's kind of more in the like smoky and earthy components. And again, it's almost like there isn't a lot of breadth of like, oh, you're getting all these wild bouquet of notes, but it's like each individual, like mostly smoky and peat related flavor, slight spice, maybe slight ex-bourbon notes, kind of very clear every time they present. It's like, oh, that's clearly like an ashy note, and that's clearly like an earthy note. It's kind of not like mixed and muddled together. That's like the best part of the craft, I feel like, with this particular whiskey. All right, so let's judge the palate, or not the palate, the aroma at 25. Again, I'm getting a little bit, slight bit of protein, not a lot. But mostly on that, like, smoked Gouda kind of note. Okay, Mosley, yep. Again, that slight sweet vanilla, and like campfire smoke. Oh, hey, relax, buddy. You get like a slight berry note to begin with, but that's kind of like mostly subsided. There's a little bit of like other fruitiness in there, but it's very low on the totem pole. Mostly that like sweet vanilla, slightly smoked grilled protein. And that like ash, slightly rubber, kind of like a barbecue. Pretty good nose, really. Let's go with 19. I like 19 on the aroma. All right, now we're gonna focus on the palate. Oh, this man wants to talk to me about cheap viewers. Let's ban his ass. Mr. Cap, how's it going? Yeah, 25 on the palate. Hmm. Yeah, immediately you get just a well-defined smoke, ash, barbecue, um, charcoal. There's like a bed of like simple syrup sweetness on it. Then you get back into like some of the back palate, like some more earthy notes. And again, that's not a big range of notes necessarily. It's mostly peat related characters with like a slight bourbon sweetness. But the progression for each of these notes is quite clear and well defined. Like you get that smoke, and then that clearly transitions into like more of a barbecue and ash, and then it clearly transitions into more of an earthiness and maybe slight spiciness. The definition of the notes and how they kind of transition over top of each other instead of like are all muddled together in a mix that you have to try to interpret, I think is the clear strength of the palette here. So despite the fact that it's not maybe like the most super complex, man, the clear transition of notes is so good and well defined. Frankly, palette, give it 21. Frankly. Saw some Lafroig age 10 year, but I think you said it wasn't as good. Wasn't as good as what? The 10 year is a pretty standard Lafroig offering. I prefer the quarter cask, but it's definitely like I don't think there's anything from Lafroig I would say is like objectively bad. Like you could probably, I prefer the quarter cask because to me it's like, yeah, it's slightly younger, and sometimes I prefer slightly younger smoky whiskeys. But also you get at a higher proof. So the quarter cask is available at 48% alcohol, whereas the 10 year, depending on your market, is either 40 or 43% alcohol. So you get a bump up in alcohol, and it's slightly younger, but that might not even be a bad thing. The age statement is not necessarily required for peated whiskeys. And again, you're using a quarter cask, so there's some like turbocharging of the ex-bourbon maturation when you use such small barrels. So in my experience, I've liked the quarter better than the 10, despite it being like not having an age statement, just because it's higher proof, and even it being a little bit younger is not like necessarily even a bad thing. But the 10 is also a respectable option too. I imagine both of those are kind of like neck and neck in most people's barometer, but I personally prefer the quarter. That's my subjective opinion. All right, so let's talk about the finish. Actually, quite good finish on this. I think this is where this is going to lose points is on texture. I think that's a place where it's going to lose some points. That being said, I do really like this whiskey. Some people feel like the Lagavulin 16 is maybe like overrated, or once you've kind of like touched on it and moved on to more veteran spirits, that this one doesn't like hold up as well, but I feel like it's holding up today. I think it's pretty damn good. It is maybe a touch on the expensive side, but you can understand why, from a mix of like kind of renown and simple quality, that they're like bumping the price up on this offering. All right, into the finish. Some earthiness, spicy character in there. Actually, a good amount of spiciness. Slight, like sweet vanilla. Oh, and then comes that, and then there's also ash at the beginning. But then comes that like slightly charcoal, fresh barbecue note. Little bit of oak way at the bottom though, mostly on that like smoky campfire barbecue, kind of like not barbecued meats. When I say barbecue, I mean like almost like the barbecue aroma of barbecue, but not like grilled meat, like not the protein part. Like lit charcoal. Slight rubber. Great length of finish. Good definition of notes. Man, give it 20 on finish. All right, so out of 10, we're going to talk about texture, and I hate to say, but again, this is a 43% alcohol. Despite it being a 16-year-old age statement, that's really not old enough to buffer for 43% alcohol very much. And so far, it doesn't have the greatest mouthfeel. So that's one interesting thing where it's like, some of these whiskeys have different dimensions, right? Then this one, despite the fact that the flavor is still really good for 43% alcohol, the texture suffers. It's not like the Corey Vrecken or something like that, where it's like, oh my god, the mouthfeel is insane. It's just not got that. It is definitely a little thin. But despite it being thin, you know, it reps the flavor. So it's kind of okay, but it's going to lose points on texture. It just is what it is. Texture is easily like a 3. All right. So, oh, but the finish is so good. It's definitely a 20. Out of 15, my personal subjective opinion on this whiskey, and we'll always ask ourselves, why would I pick up the Lagavulin 16 over a similar whiskey? Again, agnostic of price. If I had other 16-year-old smoky whiskeys in front of me, why would I go for this one? And I think it's clear that the reason you go for the Lagavulin 16 is its well-defined notes. It's like the flavors and aromas you get out of this bottle are so crystal clear. It's not, you know, a muddled mess of a bunch of different notes hitting you at the same time, jumbling all over themselves, and you're trying to interpret what you're getting. It's like there's crystal clear definition here where you get like a smoky note, and then that morphs into like an ashy note, and then that kind of morphs into like a protein note, and that kind of morphs into like an earthy note. It's not like you're getting all those notes at the same time. You're trying to piece them together and interpret what you're receiving on the palate or on the finish. There's clear transitions of flavor. The notes are so well defined. That's the strength, I think, of the 16. And that is, definitely a certain experience you don't get out of necessarily every Smoky Isle of whiskey. You're getting a cacophony sometimes of grass and smoke and earth and rubber and ash and barbecue and Band-Aid, and you're trying to like put these together, but it's so clearly defined, I think, and well crafted in this particular bottle, that for me, that is quite notable. That is the reason that you would go for this one. Um, Again, it's not providing like notes in excess. Like it's not like got a good horizontal complexity with a bunch of crazy notes going on. It's not like so complex that you're trying to like pick out the nuances necessarily. It's just so well crafted and well defined. That is the strength. High Life of Horror, how's it going? So for me, again, for something to be truly wild and outrageous, it would have to really stun me. And nothing here really stuns me, but it definitely stands out, I think, that how well this has been put together. And it's like one of those whiskeys that, despite it being maybe a lower proof and a higher price, you're kind of okay maybe to pay for this one because of how well crafted it is. So at a 15, we'll give this a strong, I think 10 is a good place to be. 10 out of 15 for a personal subjective experience. Pretty damn good, really. So if we total these 19 and 21, what a score. 19 and 21 and 20 and 3 and 10, we give this 73, a 73 out of 100. Great. What a great whiskey. Call this great. What a great whiskey. That's Mosley's water. This is my water. What a great whiskey.